Tonight, I bring to you 10 scary stories. These stories were just chosen at random, so I hope you enjoy. Stay tuned to the channel for new stories, all narrated by me and no more text-to-speech.
It seems so cliche to start by saying I don't believe in ghosts, but however, that's where I'm coming from. A few years ago, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment, and it was my first time that I was living on my own. So the apartment block had been built in the 1930s, and I'd been there for a few months when I came home from work one day and went into the bathroom. I saw something strange. The wooden board covering a hole in the ceiling that led to a small attic space lay broken in 2 pieces on the ground. I examined the broken pieces. The board was 1 inch thick, and it would have taken a Bruce Lee-type person to break it. I thought the landlord had sent someone to work on the attic. I was frozen stiff with fear. I thought, someone is up there for sure. So later on that night, I emailed the pictures to the landlord asking if anyone had been there. Of course, with an undertone of annoyance since she hadn't warned me. Her reply read, "Please call me as soon as you're able to." So I called, and she explained that her last 2 tenants had the same thing happen. She promised to replace the board, and of course she did. About a month later, I woke up one night around 4 a.m., and I had so many goosebumps, it felt like someone was rubbing his or hands on me. Everything was silent, but then I heard this sound coming from above my bed. It was a dragging sound, like someone pulling a sack of potatoes. I was frozen stiff with fear. I thought, someone is up there for sure, but there's no way an animal can make that sound. After 5 minutes, I managed to work up the courage to turn on the light and walk to the bathroom. I was armed with a baseball bat, of course. When I looked, I saw the new board covering the hole was broken in 2 again. I felt sick to my stomach. The dragging sound had stopped, but then I heard something else. Whispering. The sound was clear and coming from the attic. It sounded like children's voices, and all I could hear was one sentence repeated over and over again. "It's your turn. It's your turn." I switched on every light in the apartment to make things feel normal. It was 5 a.m., and it was dark outside. So I decided to watch TV to try and unwind. Then, a fuse blew. So my pet budgie Dexter, whom I kept in the kitchen, he usually never made a sound at night, but he started to squawk like he was being strangled. I'd never heard them make those noises before. He was basically screaming. So I grabbed my car keys, ran out, and sat in my car and waited till the sun came up. When I saw people walking their dogs, this comforted me enough to go back inside. The front door was open, but I thought I hadn't closed it when I ran outside. So I went into the kitchen to check on Dexter, and he wasn't in his cage. I felt sick again. All my windows were closed, so I looked everywhere inside. When I walked into the bathroom, I heard a splashing. Dexter was half drowned in the toilet. I took him out, washed him up, and dried him off. I was so confused. I had no idea what was happening. So around 8 o'clock in the morning, I called the landlord and gave her a watered-down version of the night. And her reply was, "Oh wow, you heard the whispering too?" So I stayed in that apartment for another 18 months, almost 2 years. I did hear the whispering on a few occasions, and twice the board covering the hole in the ceiling had moved. Although now I live elsewhere, the landlord recently called. She said that her new tenants had begged to speak with me about some of the stuff that's been going on there. I thought to myself, forget it. It's their problem now. One evening when I was in my junior year of high school, my mom and dad went out, leaving me home alone. I had a lot of homework to do, so I spent the whole evening sitting at my desk in my bedroom. My parents left the house around 6 p.m. While I was doing my homework, I put on my headphones and listened to really loud music. There was a big storm that night, and my desk was facing the window so I could see the rain and the lightning outside. My parents got back around 11 p.m. When I saw their car drive up, I took off my headphones, and as soon as my mom opened the front door and came inside, I heard her shout my name. "What on earth happened in here?" she demanded in an angry voice. Confused, I ran downstairs. My mom was standing in the hallway with a furious look on her face. She pointed at the floor and yelled, "Was this you?" I looked down and I saw the carpet was covered in muddy footprints. "I have no idea how those got there," I said. "I spent the whole night at my desk doing my homework." I watched as they looked around, and the looks on their face had changed from anger to confusion, and then to fear. We both realized it at the same time. Someone else must have been in the house. So we followed the trail of footprints, trying to make sense of the whole situation. They started at the back door, which we usually left unlocked. Then we noticed something else. The footprints may have started at the back door, but there was no trail of footprints leaving through the back door. All of a sudden we heard something, a really loud pounding noise that echoed throughout the house. Then the sound of the front door being wrenched open and slammed shut again. Wham! We all ran into the garage and locked the door behind us. My mom took out her cell phone and called the police. "Please come quickly," she shouted. "Someone's in our house." After what seemed like hours, a patrol car arrived with 2 police officers, a male and a female. One officer stayed with us in the garage while his partner went through the house, searching it room by room. When she came back, the female officer told us that there was nobody in the house and it was safe to go back in. As we were all breathing a sigh of relief, she asked, "Whose bedroom is upstairs on the left?" My parents looked at me. "Well, that's my bedroom," I told the officer. She asked us to follow her. As we walked through the house, we could see the trail of muddy footprints leading from the back door, through the living room, through the hallway and up the stairs, into my parents' bedroom, and then towards my room. They stopped at my doorway. The female officer pointed at my door, which had been open the whole night, but scrawled on it in black marker was the following: 8:47 p.m. I see you. 8:53 p.m. You forgot to lock the back door. 8:59. You seem focused. 9:24. Turn around. 9:47. Look at me. 10:15. Look at me. 10:37. Look at me. 10:49. Look at me. For more than 2 hours, someone had been standing in my doorway, watching me. To this day, I still shudder to think what would have happened if I had actually turned around.
Rob brings a girl to our annual cottage weekend for the first time in 8 years, rounding out our group to an even 6. Initially, we are wary of including someone we didn't quite know, but it isn't too long before she wins us over with her personality and her friendliness. And as a bonus, she's brought with her salted caramel cupcakes, an after-dinner treat that we devour as we sit around a campfire exchanging the scariest stories we'd ever heard. "You go first, new girl," we encouraged. She shakes her head. "I'd actually like to go last if you don't mind. I want to hear all your stories first." Most of the tales are urban legends. Humans can lick too. Aren't you glad you didn't turn out the light? And several versions of a young couple meeting an unfortunate fate while trapped in a car in the dead of night. Then it's her turn. Honestly, stories with blood and gore don't scare me. They're so over the top, so implausible, that they're more ridiculous than they are frightening. What's scary to me are the mindfucks, she continues, tapping an index finger to her temple. The unexpected, the unknown. Not ghosts, mind you, or chain-wielding maniacs, but ordinary people like you and I. For example, A stranger spends a weekend at the cottage with her boyfriend and his friends, she says as she holds up her uneaten cupcake and feeds them some homemade pastries. Don't look up at the mirror. You know how that always goes. They look up at the mirror and it's right there, just behind them. Just stare down and turn the sink handle. Reach over for the towel. No, whatever you just felt isn't there. Bring your hand back. You don't need to dry them anyway. You're going to bed. Keep your head down. Keep your hair over your face like a visor. Look at your feet when you turn around. Now pull open the door. Don't look ahead down the hall. Of course, it'll be standing right there watching you. Just keep looking down. Act like you're half awake. Maybe you can fool it. Turn left and go straight ahead. Don't look down the left or the right halls as you reach your door. Don't even indulge your peripheral vision. Just get there. Go to your computer and turn off the screen. You know exactly where the switch is. Don't look at what's flashing on the screen. You know that whatever is on there isn't what you left it on. Just kneel and hold the power button. It should only take 5 seconds or so. Come on, now turn and walk to your dresser just like before. No, don't look at its feet, look at yours. Keep looking down and walking. Don't walk too slow, don't walk too fast. Pull off your shirt. Don't take forever getting things off. Do it quickly. Same with your pants. Careful, don't trip yourself. Open the drawer and just put them both in. Who cares if it's just one for shirts? Don't look what else is in there. Just close it. Some of the shirts got caught at the top. Open it again. Shove it in. Close it. Okay, now turn again. Look down. Don't stand too close to the bottom of the bed. Don't let it grab your ankles. Just get on the bed. Now, move the pillows and lie on your side with your back to the wall. Keep your eyes closed. Ignore the freezing wall. Grip the covers from the inside tightly in case it tries to pull them off. Keep your eyes shut. Don't listen to it. Keep your eyes shut. Go to sleep. Where are you? I scream, panicked. I run through the abandoned farm. I can't find her. Not in the old house. Not in the barn. I run into the empty field, heart racing. As I scan the area, I run into a mound of dirt and trip, sprawling to the ground. Getting up, it hits me. Abandoned farm. I tripped over freshly tilled earth. Crouching down, I start frantically clawing with my hands, scooping handfuls of dirt, and I hit something hard. It was wood. Are you in there? I cry, pressing my ear to the wood. I hear muffled cries. I start digging again, but realize it's taking too long. Looking around, I see a garden shed. I sprint to it, ripping the door open. I see a shovel, still caked in dirt. Probably the same one that the bastard buried her with. I grab it. Running back, I started digging with purpose. Soon the wooden box is exposed. I toss the shovel and rip open the crate. She stares back at me, eyes wide, bound, gagged, but still alive. I sigh with relief. Thank God. I reach into my bag, pulling out my rag and chloroform. I crouch down, placing it over her face. She struggles, faints. I toss her over my shoulder. "Oh, hell," my brother says as I walk back to the truck with a smirk. "You found her." "Yep, you almost had me, though," I laughed. "All right, my turn." "Where did you put her?" I gesture to the creek area. "Somewhere over there. Drowning's an issue, though." "Jerk," he says, running off. I smile, watching him go. I love adult hide-and-seek. 2000. Christopher was wrapping up his day at the office to return home to his wife and kids. It was his last day at work for the year. He was really excited to spend time with his family for the holidays. "Aw, crap," he said with a look of disappointment on his face as he walked outside to a snowing winter wonderland. "Damn it, it had to snow today. I forgot to put on my snow tires," he thought to himself while unlocking his car. Before he could start driving, he heard a voice yell his name. "Hey Chris, can I hitch a ride with you?" "Of course you can, Jim," he said, unlocking the passenger side door. I watched as they drove off into the darkness of the night. "Who am I, you ask? I'm unlike anyone else. That is enough information for you." They were driving towards Interstate 65, which is exactly what I dreaded. But alas, I couldn't do anything to stop them. Every day a lot of cars pass through the Interstate 65. There is a dark patch in the road, darker than your darkest fears, lined with trees on either side. This path looks beautiful during the day, but something lurks there at night. The canopy from the trees blocks out all the light from the stars and the moon. It is as if you're heading into a tunnel of trees. A lot of people enter this tree tunnel, but unlucky few never make it out. Chris and Jim arrived at this dreaded patch. It was covered with snow. I can see it, but I can't do anything about it. "Hey Chris, watch out!" Jim yelled, but it was too late. Chris struggled with the steering wheel, but the car skidded off the wet road. There was a loud screech and a bam just as the car hit the side rail. Just like I remembered. None of them had sustained any major injury yet. The worst was yet to come. The night passed as the light from the sun lit up the tunnel. Their bodies were found not far away from the wrecked car. Their bodies were ripped apart and were disfigured beyond recognition. This wasn't the first time the police had seen such a sight on this road. Just like every time, the police report said that Chris and Jim got out of the car after the crash and tried finding help when they were mauled by some kind of wild animal which they couldn't spot due to the darkness. To tackle this issue, they finally cut down the trees to improve visibility on the road, as if that would help. Only I knew what had happened. I had seen it coming, but I couldn't do anything, even if I wanted to. I watched expressionlessly as it ripped them apart, feasted on their flesh, and made its way back into the darkness. I had seen it ever since I was a kid. I tried telling people, but they all believe what they see or read, not something they hear from some kid or an acquaintance. After they cut those trees, the thing that lurked there is gone. It's gone somewhere else. Some other places with a dark patch, with more unsuspecting people to feast on. Where it will hunt again, just as it did here. It lives in the dark, waiting for unsuspecting victims. How do I know all this? I was the first victim. There was a young girl whose parents didn't have very much money. She was the youngest of 3 sisters, and she always had to use hand-me-downs from her siblings. All of her clothes were worn and threadbare because they were second-hand. Even the red bag she brought to school every day was torn and tattered. The girl asked her mother to buy her a new bag, but her mother said it was impossible. They just couldn't afford it. One day the girl was walking down the street when she spotted a shiny new red school bag laying in the grass beside the side of the road. Looking inside, she found that it didn't have a name on it, and she wondered who it belonged to. Suddenly the girl thought, "This bag must be a gift from God." The girl took the red bag home and hid it in her room. She was worried that if her mother saw it, she would tell her to bring it back. In the middle of the night, while her mother was fast asleep, the girl got up and transferred the contents of her old bag into the new one. "Tomorrow I will go to school with my new red bag," she said to herself. Suddenly, the red school bag began to move and it started biting the girl's feet. She was so shocked that she couldn't cry out and the pain caused her to faint. When the mother went into her room the next day, the girl was nowhere to be seen. All that remained was one shiny new red bag with no name on the inside. Last year I was flying home from a business trip, and when my plane was delayed in an unfamiliar city, I was forced to spend the night there. I searched online and booked a cheap hotel that was close to the airport. When I arrived at the hotel, I was disappointed by how dirty and shabby it was. I thought about trying to find another hotel, but everything was fully booked that weekend. When I got to my room, there was a heavy, unpleasant smell in the air. The whole atmosphere felt stifling and cold. I pulled back the bedclothes and found something strange on the sheets beneath. It was a pair of rusty metal scissors. "Ugh, this is terrible," I said to myself. "The maid hasn't even bothered to clean up the room properly." I picked them up in disgust and placed them on the bedside table. I was so tired that I couldn't stay awake. I went to bed and decided I'd complain about the scissors in the morning. Lying between the dirty sheets, I closed my eyes and tried to fall asleep. In the middle of the night, I had an unusual dream. I felt a heavy weight pressing down on me, and I got the strangest feeling that someone was watching me. I'm not sure what time I woke up, but the room was still pitch black. When I reached out and switched on the bedside lamp, my hair stood on end. The rusty scissors were lying on my chest, and the blades were closed on either side of my neck, digging into the skin. One more inch, and the scissors would have cut my throat. I can feel it again. I can feel the pervasive, crawling itch. The kind of itch everyone gets from time to time. The kind of itch that causes an instinctive scratch, with no conscious thought driving the motion. Pure reflex. A dig with the fingernails and the itch is relieved. And looking at the spot after scratching shows nothing. Unblemished skin and slowly developing red streaks where the nails have been dragged. But I don't scratch. I don't scratch. I don't scratch because last week I looked at an itch just before scratching. I looked and I saw something small, something black, something with legs and hairs and pincers and mandibles. And I couldn't stop the reflex. I couldn't stop my hand reaching for my leg. I couldn't stop my nails digging in. And I couldn't stop that thing from climbing through my damaged skin, from disappearing into my flesh. I can feel the itch again. I can feel it. And this time, it's different. This time, the itch is coming from the inside. My old co-worker had a son that was in his mid-30s, and he had a son named Hunter that was 4 or 5. She said that Hunter would have bad dreams and that he would sleep with his dad when he got scared. One night his dad woke up because he heard Hunter calling him, but he was calling him by name, not Dad. So he went to his room and he was asleep. He woke him up and said, "Hunter, you were calling me. Is everything okay?" And Hunter said, "Dad, when they call you, you're not supposed to answer," and fell back asleep. He asked him about it in the morning, but he said he didn't remember saying it. I get chills when I think about it.
Thank you so much for listening. I am glad that you spent your spare time listening, and I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't yet, could you like and share the video? Also, give the channel a subscription as well. Once again, thank you.